Ibrahim Babangida, one of Nigeria's most powerful and controversial military rulers, never imagined that on April 22, 1990, his grip on power would be violently challenged in a coup attempt that shook the nation to its core. The streets of Abuja echoed with gunfire, the presidential residence was under siege, and the fate of Nigeria hung in the balance. But who was behind this bold attack? What drove Brigadier Gideon Orkar and his conspirators to risk everything to topple Babangida's regime? In this video, we will unravel the dramatic story of that fateful day, the plans, the chaos, and the fallout that shaped Nigeria's future. If you want to understand the real history behind this historic event, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more compelling stories from Nigeria and beyond. Stay with us as we reveal the truth behind one of the most daring coups in African history. In 1985, a military officer named Ibrahim Babangida took control of Nigeria through a palace coup, overthrowing the government of General Muhammadu Buhari. Babangida promised Nigerians a fresh start, a new era of progress, economic reforms, and a return to civilian rule. Many hoped that under his leadership, the country would heal from years of corruption, mismanagement, and military dictatorships. But as years passed, disappointment grew. Babangida's regime was marked by contradictions. While he introduced programs like the Structural Adjustment Program (SAP) to stabilize the economy, the results were harsh. Prices of basic goods soared, unemployment rose, and many Nigerians felt the weight of economic hardship. Politically, Babangida's promises of democracy seemed distant and uncertain. He repeatedly postponed plans to hand over power, fueling distrust and anger. Corruption scandals whispered through the corridors of power, and many believed that Babangida's government was more interested in keeping control than improving lives. Nigeria itself was a complex nation, made up of many ethnic groups with long histories of tension and conflict. Under Babangida, these divisions sometimes deepened. Some groups felt marginalized or excluded from power, while others feared domination by rival factions. Within the military, the very institution Babangida controlled, dissatisfaction simmered. Officers who felt sidelined or opposed to Babangida's policies began quietly plotting. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation. By 1990, Nigeria was a country on edge. The economy struggled, political hopes dimmed, and tensions inside the army grew. It was in this charged atmosphere that Brigadier Gideon Orkar and his group decided to strike. Brigadier Gideon Orkar was not just any military officer. Born in 1949 in Nigeria's Middle Belt region, he rose through the ranks with a reputation for discipline, intelligence, and a strong sense of justice. He was a respected soldier who believed deeply in the potential of Nigeria but also saw its many flaws. Orkar's military career was steady and impressive. He trained at the Nigerian Defense Academy and served in various command positions. But as the years went by, Orkar became increasingly frustrated with what he saw around him. The corruption, the ethnic favoritism, and the unfulfilled promises of the Babangida government weighed heavily on him. Unlike some who accepted the status quo, Orkar wanted radical change. He believed Nigeria's structure was flawed and that many ethnic groups were unfairly treated or ignored by the ruling elite. His anger and disappointment weren't just about politics, they were about the future of the entire nation. Behind closed doors, Orkar began quietly gathering like-minded officers who shared his vision and grievances. Together, they dreamed of a Nigeria where power was more balanced, where justice prevailed, and where corruption was rooted out. But Orkar's vision came with a steep price. To achieve this change, he believed the current regime had to be removed. This belief set him on a dangerous path, one that would lead to a dramatic and bloody confrontation. Brigadier Gideon Orkar and his closest allies knew that overthrowing Ibrahim Babangida's regime would not be easy. Babangida was a skilled strategist with loyal soldiers guarding the heart of his power. For the coup to succeed, the plan had to be precise, swift, and bold. Months before April 22, 1990, Orkar and his co-conspirators met in secret, away from prying eyes and ears. They recruited trusted officers from different ethnic backgrounds, hoping to present their attempt as a united front against what they called the corrupt and divisive regime. The plan was ambitious: strike at the core of Babangida's power, the Dodon Barracks, where the president lived and worked, along with other key military installations in the capital, Abuja. They intended to assassinate Babangida and several top commanders to cripple the government instantly. But the coup was more than just a military takeover. Orkar wanted to send a message. He drafted a bold political statement that would be broadcast to the nation once they seized control. This declaration would call for a restructuring of Nigeria, including the controversial proposal to remove certain northern states from the federation, a shocking move that reflected deep ethnic tensions. The conspirators understood the risks. Failure meant death or long imprisonment. Betrayal lurked everywhere, and trust was fragile. Yet their frustration and hope for a new Nigeria pushed them forward. As the day of the coup approached, tension mounted. Every detail had to be perfect, from timing to communication. The soldiers prepared their weapons, memorized their targets, and steeled themselves for what lay ahead. The early hours of April 22, 1990, were filled with a tense silence that masked the storm about to break. Brigadier Gideon Orkar and his loyal soldiers moved quickly and quietly, ready to strike the heart of Nigeria's power. Their first target was the Doden Barracks in Abuja, the heavily guarded residence and office of General Ibrahim Babangida. Explosions and gunfire shattered the calm as the coup forces launched their attack, catching some by surprise but also alerting others. In the chaos, Orkar's men seized key positions and detained several high-ranking officers. But Babangida himself managed to escape harm, slipping away through secret tunnels and back doors, protected by loyal guards. As the firefight raged, the coup plotters took over the state-run radio station. It was there that Brigadier Orkar made a shocking announcement that stunned the nation. On live broadcast, he declared the removal of Babangida's government and called for radical changes. His speech was bold and controversial. Orkar called for excising certain northern states from Nigeria, accusing them of dominating the political system and oppressing others. This proposal shocked many Nigerians and deepened existing ethnic divisions. Despite the initial shock, Babangida's loyalists quickly rallied. Reinforcements arrived, counterattacked, and began pushing back the coup forces. The tide turned fast. The battle for control of Abuja was fierce and brutal. The coup attempt, though bold, lacked the widespread support needed to succeed. Within hours, the rebellion was crushed. By the end of the day, the government was back in control, but the scars of that violent morning would linger for years. As the dust settled over Abuja, it became clear that the coup attempt led by Brigadier Gideon Orkar had failed. Babangida's loyal forces swiftly regained control, and the rebellion was crushed with ruthless efficiency. Orkar and many of his co-conspirators were arrested. They faced swift military tribunals where the stakes were life or death. The trials were tense and secretive, but the outcome was inevitable. Orkar and several key officers were sentenced to death and executed publicly, sending a grim warning to any who might challenge the regime again. The Babangida government responded with heightened security and a crackdown on suspected dissenters within the military and civilian population. Suspicion and paranoia spread through the ranks, as loyalty became the highest currency. The failed coup exposed deep fissures in Nigeria's political and ethnic fabric. Orkar's call to excise part of the country revealed long-standing resentment and fears about marginalization and domination by certain groups. The brutal suppression that followed only widened the divisions. For Babangida, the attempt was a brutal reminder of the precariousness of his power. Though he remained in control, the seeds of distrust and discontent had taken root more firmly than ever. The failed coup of April 22, 1990, left a deep mark on Nigeria's history. It was more than just a violent power struggle, it was a moment that exposed the fragile unity of a nation grappling with ethnic tensions, political distrust, and military dominance. Brigadier Gideon Orkar's name remains controversial. To some, he is a traitor who threatened Nigeria's unity and peace. To others, he is a symbol of resistance, a soldier who dared to challenge a corrupt system and speak uncomfortable truths about inequality and exclusion. The coup attempt forced Nigeria to confront painful questions about identity, power, and justice. It highlighted the dangers of a divided nation where ethnic grievances could be weaponized and where military rule bred suspicion and repression. In the years that followed, Nigeria's political landscape shifted slowly but unevenly. Babangida's regime continued until 1993, marked by more instability and uncertainty. The memory of the 1990 coup lingered as a warning that real change required more than force, it needed dialogue, fairness, and inclusion. Today, as Nigeria continues its journey toward democracy and unity, the events of that April morning serve as a stark reminder: the price of division is high, and the struggle for a just and peaceful nation is ongoing. This completes the scripted chapters. Would you like me to write the conclusion now? Or would you prefer a review of the full script so far? April 22, 1990, remains one of the most dramatic and painful days in Nigeria's history. It was a day when the country's future seemed to hang by a thread caught between violence, hope, and deep division. Ibrahim Babangida survived the attack, but the events revealed cracks in the foundation of Nigeria's unity. Brigadier Gideon Orkar's bold, desperate gamble was both a challenge and a warning that without justice, fairness, and true inclusion, no nation can stand strong. Today, Nigeria still wrestles with the same questions. How can a diverse country hold together? How can leaders earn the trust of all their people? And what price is too high to pay for change? As we remember that fateful day, we are reminded that the struggle for a better Nigeria is far from over. It demands courage, honesty, and unity from every citizen. If you found this story insightful, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories that shape our world. Thank you for watching.